Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another Wednesday night episode of Bright Spots. I am so excited that you are here. Boy, it has been raining in the Ohio Valley, but tonight we are going to shine a light on all that is good. And I just can't tell you how happy I am that you've decided to tune in either live tonight or later on, whenever it is you're watching. I know that you're going to get something wonderful out of tonight's episode. We are welcoming back for the third time the Gratitude Evangelist from Florida, from Tampa, Florida. And I love having her in the studio. Her attitude and all of the stuff that she has to bring is just infectious. And it always leaves me feeling just absolutely warm and fuzzy inside and wonderful. And so I'm just so excited to have her back in the studio with us tonight. But before we get started, if this is your first time tuning into Bright Spots, remember, this is an interactive show, a live show right now, live on Wednesday night, and we want you to interact. So please post a comment down below. Let us know you're here. Let us know where you're tuning in from. If it is your first time, tell us it's your first time. Let us know how you heard about Bright Spots. And if you've been here before, I'm so glad you came back. Thank you. It is great to join with you every Wednesday night and shine a little bit of light into your life. And it shines so much light into my life, I can't even begin to tell you. I feel so good and lifted up after we have these shows each week. So thank you for supporting the show. Just a few more left this season. We will finish up at the end of May, and there will be no shows throughout the summer, but we'll pick back up in September, and the third season is already looking great, guys, with some incredible guests. So I hope that you will mark your calendar for Wednesdays again after the summer. Enjoy your summer. Got a couple weeks left of Bright Spots here in May, and then we're going to take some time off. So without further ado, allow me to introduce to you tonight's guest. She is no stranger to the Bright Spot studio. This is her third appearance. She is the founder of Lane Business Consulting. Lorraine Lane has inspired business owners and executives for over 20 years to step fully into their leadership roles. She works with her clients to develop their strengths, skills, and insights. Her objective is to open the doors of hidden opportunities for business owners so their businesses flourish and are then able to contribute back to their employees, customers, and communities. And tonight, Lorraine is going to help us find our voice. So, ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome to the studio, Miss Lorraine Lane. Hello, Lorraine.
Hi, Lori.
It is wonderful to have you here again. You are my biggest repeat guest now officially. You're the first one to come back. I've had a few that come back twice, but you're the first one to come back 3 times. And I'll take you every time you want to come back.
Thank you. I love being on your show.
Oh, we just have so much fun when you come.
Yeah. Yeah, great.
So tonight you're going to talk a little bit about finding your voice. So what does that mean? What's it mean to find your voice?
Okay, so when I'm working with my clients, I help them get their message. What's their message? What is it they want to share with people? And who is their audience, right? And it came to me, I'm helping them find their voice. What are they saying? What are the words they're using when they talk about their business, right? And I know for me, after being in the corporate world for 15 years and now having my own business for 20, I had to find my voice. I had to figure out what's my message, who are my clients, what did I want to say to them? Because if you don't find your voice, you're not marketing yourself, you're not selling your service or products. And I have clients say to me, oh, I'm not a speaker, I'm not in marketing, I'm not in sales. Well, then my answer to that is, well, then you're not in business, right? So finding your voice, your message, how to speak about your business is important. And I love helping people do that.
So what are the steps to finding your voice? What are the things you have to do to discover what your voice is?
Well, it's finding, what's the language you're using, right? I remember going to a networking event and there was a realtor there, and she would, for the 30-second introduction, she would say, oh, I'm just a realtor, you know what I do. Well, that wasn't very exciting, right? So finally, I invited her to have coffee with me. And I asked her, what fires you up about what you do? There's got to be something that you're excited about. So she started talking about what she loved, helping young couples find their first home or young families. And that just lit her up. And I said, that's it. So we developed a 30-second introduction for her. And the next week, when she gave her introduction, people just kind of looked and said, wow, so what lights you up? What's your passion? Why do you do what you do? And finding that is important.
Oh, I love that, because if you're passionate about something, when you talk about it, people know, people get it. You've really got to be passionate. I've often said, as a speaker, sometimes you're asked to talk about things that you don't really know about. So you have to do research and you have to figure it out. Mm-hmm. And you can be passionate about something once you research it. But when it is truly something you believe in and that beyond a shadow of a doubt that you're passionate about it, that really comes across. So how exciting. So what are some of the mistakes that speakers make? I'm sure you've seen some real flubs, right? When speakers get up, what are some of the things that are mistakes?
Okay. The first one is not having a short bio. And it's not a resume. So you want to have an introduction, and I call it a bio. And people will ask you that when they ask you to speak. Send me a picture, send me a bio. If you send this very lengthy description of every award you ever got and every job you ever had and every book you ever published, and it goes on, people are bored out of their minds before you even get up to speak. So when I teach my class, I teach people to have 4 or 5 sentences that will engage people and have them want to listen to you. The other thing about a bio is always have a copy with you, because inevitably the person who invited you to speak at the event will have left your bio on their printer, and it won't set the stage well for you if you don't have your bio with you. So rule number 1, short, sweet, to the point, and have it with you. The other mistake that people make is finishing their talk and then say, are there any questions? Don't do that. You open the door to questions that you don't want to answer or that you don't have the answer to, and it will take away from your talk. So if you want people to ask questions, there are ways of leaving the stage and coming back, or saying that you'll be in the back of the room to answer questions after.
Interesting. I've never heard that before. So that's good to know. Mm-hmm. So, Lorraine, you and I have been speaking a long time, and we make mistakes. There are times that we take the stage and we don't do it perfectly. One time in particular, I remember I was speaking actually at church. I was telling a story about a dream that I had helped make come true when I worked for Second Wind Dreams. And I was working with a young lady, an elder who was 88, who was a bilateral amputee.
Mm.
And I said she didn't have legs from the knees up.
Okay.
Okay. And I didn't catch myself, but my husband and my daughter were dying laughing in the church. And I was angry because I thought, why are they laughing? This is a very serious story that I'm telling. And
Mhm.
afterwards, they told me what I had said. And I said, well, apparently nobody else in church noticed because you were the only ones laughing.
Okay.
So, what was your biggest blunder, Lorraine? What have you done that just really was a blunder?
Yeah, I first few talks that I gave, I memorized the talk, and that I advise people don't do that, because if you suddenly forget what the next thing is, you're going to stumble, right? And then your talk derails. So no memorizing. And that's hard because people are nervous and they want to have memorized, but that's not a good thing to do. So practicing your talk, having the language available to you. And I remember memorizing, and the train came off the tracks.
Oh,
So I learned not to do that anymore.
yeah. So what about a PowerPoint? Should speakers always have a PowerPoint when they're going to give a presentation?
Um, that, I'll give you the lawyer's answer. That depends. So if it will help you to stay on track to have a PowerPoint, do that. But minimize how many words. Picture, a couple of words, that's useful. And if you're familiar with PowerPoint, some of the participants in my workshop will fill up a slide with all kinds of bullet points, and so I help people boil it down to 1 or 2 words for every bullet point, so that you're not reading the PowerPoint to the audience and they're tracking with you. So that's PowerPoint can be tricky if you try to put your whole presentation on a few slides.
Okay. Yeah, and it is really important not to read from the slides. The last thing that participants want is someone they can read the slides themselves, right?
Right.
Um,
Right.
yeah, so with the way things have happened over the last year, we've gone to virtual presentations a good bit. Well, they're exclusively for a while, and now things are starting to open up. Do you think the virtual presentations were as effective as in person? And if not, or if so, why?
Okay. So in one of my early classes, when we all went virtual, a couple of people said, oh, this is easy, virtual, not a problem. So when they did their 10-minute presentation, they found it was not as easy as they thought it would be, because you don't have the audience interaction, right? And so I find it a little more challenging, because I really like the interaction with people live, but we have to adapt. And so learning how to keep people engaged, and that is one of the things that people have to learn in finding your voice. How do you keep people engaged? How do you create that audience participation? Otherwise, you're going to see people scrolling, or they're going to be just their picture virtually, and they're catching up on their email or doing something else and not paying attention. So I think knowing how to give an in-person presentation and a virtual presentation is very useful at this point. We have to know how to do both.
So when you're teaching your class, what is your opinion as far as handouts? Should there be handouts if I'm doing an online or an in-person presentation? And if so, what should those handouts contain?
Okay. So, in my corporate job, I was a facilitator, trainer. And so handouts were part of the work, right? People would follow along, fill in, take notes, and so on. And sometimes when I'm giving a presentation or a talk, it can be that kind of participation. But if you're giving a talk and you have a handout, and it's going to distract people and get their attention more than you talking, then I wouldn't do the handout before. I would give it out after the talk. Or I tell people I'm going to have the handout, or I'm going to have a copy of my slides or something, so that they're not busy taking notes, but they're paying more attention. Because if people are taking notes, they're going to miss some of what you're saying. So I let people know that ahead of time, that, there'll be a handout, but it's after they can take it.
Yeah. So are there phrases or words that people should avoid when they're giving a talk? What are some of the things that we should or shouldn't say when we're giving a talk?
Well, a lot of professions have their own lingo, like medical people or financial advisors, or anyone will have their own speak, I call it. And when we use too much of that in a presentation, if people don't understand what you're talking about, you will lose them. And so that's one of the things that in working with people to get their presentation ready is, do you think everyone understands what you're saying? Like people who are in IT or things like that, they will use language that people don't use in ordinary conversation. So either you explain it or don't use it. Use something that people will understand. So because you've got to keep your audience moving along with you. The other thing that's difficult is if people are nervous, they have things like so, and those are hard things to let go of. But they develop as habits, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I actually enjoy watching speakers, either on TED Talks or, video recordings on YouTube. And every once in a while you find one, and it's just kind of fun to count how many times they say, or so. However, I had a mentor at one time who told me when I was early in my years of speaking that and so are intelligent people's pauses, and that's the way they process, is by saying those words. But I do believe that you can get them too often in a talk, and you do have to have a cadence to your talk, and that shows that you at least know where you're going. So what happens when you have a brain freeze and you forget what your next point is? How do you recover from that?
Well, there are a couple of ways to recover. One is to ask the audience to help you. So I've seen people do that, and it works remarkably well. People get interactive and tell the person, the speaker, you were talking about this. Oh, okay. Keep going. The audience is fine with it. Or ask a question about what you were talking about in the last couple of sentences, and then get back on track. That's another way to do it. And, I've seen speakers just say, I just totally blanked on where I was. Help me get back on track.
Sure. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think it happens to all of us. It happens to all of us when you least expect it.
Exactly.
I know even as a vocalist in singing, there are times that I draw a complete blank on what the next lyric is, and it's kind of hard to stop and say, help me out here. What are the next words?
Sing along with me.
Sing along with me, or make it up as you go. And people will wonder, was that really what that song said? I've actually had people say to me after a show, I didn't know those were the words in that song.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure. They are when I see it. Yeah. So Lorraine, who gives you inspiration? Who are some of the speakers that you enjoy watching and you draw inspiration from?
I watch TED Talks, and I watch Brene Brown. I enjoy watching her. The others, different ones who are, and I can't think of the names right now, but different TED Talks that will come to my attention. And like Simon Sinek, I will watch him. He engages people so much and captures people's attention. And I want to hear and see, what is it? What is it? And he could say most anything now because he's so famous, and people would just, say it was absolutely wonderful.
Right.
But I'm sure at the beginning of his career, he wasn't. But after all the experience, and that's one of the things, the more you do it, the better you'll get if you are in touch with that message that you want to convey. If you're in touch with your heart, your mind, your voice, and you're confident of that, whether it's a service, a product, whatever it is that you're talking about.
Yeah, I agree. I love TED Talks. And folks, if you're not familiar with TED Talks and you're hoping to be a speaker, go to YouTube and search TED Talks. There are topics galore. You could probably find whatever it is you talk on there somewhere, or some reasonable facsimile of it. And watch those speakers. And yes, the best and the brightest will stick out to you, and you will see how they have the audiences eating out of the palm of their hand and sitting on the edge of their seat. And that's where you want to get to as a speaker. That's where you want to be. You want to be able to engage your audience so much that you leave them wanting more, so that the next time you speak, they sign up and come hear you.
Right. And it isn't so much that you're trying to sell something, but you're either educating or sharing information or something that will engage people. If you're speaking for 10 minutes, it's 10 minutes out of their lives that they're giving to you to listen to you. Make it worth their while.
Yeah, great advice. So, Lorraine, is there anything that we didn't cover? Do you have any upcoming programs that you'd like to pitch?
Sure. I have my next Win It, Don't Wing It program, which is 4 weeks dedicated to getting your 10-minute talk ready for prime time. Because my goal with the people that I work with is always say yes to any invitation to speak. What you don't want to do is say, oh, no, thanks. It's free marketing. Have a talk ready to go. And we do present the talk and get feedback. My next one starts on June 14th, and people can register at lbcevent.com.
All right. So there you have it, folks. LBC
Event.
EVENT.com.
Yep.
And you can register for Lorraine's upcoming class, and that is on her profile page at brightspotsov.com as well. So please go check it out. And Lorraine, it has been a pleasure. It is always a pleasure to have you here in the studio. I hope you'll come back and see us in the fall and tell us what's going on and all about the new speakers that you are bringing up. You are really coaching and teaching a new crop of wonderful speakers that I'm sure we're going to see on the TED Talk stage coming up soon.
Wonderful. That would be great.
Yeah. Have you done a TED Talk yourself?
I have not. And so that is on my bucket list.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Well, when that happens, you make sure you let us know so that we can promote that for you.
I sure will. Thank you.
Oh.
And tomorrow night, if people are interested, I'm doing a master class with Steve Hopper and Lee Hayes. And Lee prepares people for event planners, helps them get on stage or speak wherever. And she's a wealth of information. And Steve helps people with their branding and messaging. And of course, I will talk about how to get your talk ready. So if people want to be part of that masterclass, which is free tomorrow night at 7, they can register at speakerclass.com.
All right, let's put that up on the screen so that people have it. And that is tomorrow evening, right?
Right.
All right, folks. So speakerclass.com. And you can register for tomorrow's free online masterclass to help you learn everything there is to know about speaking, from branding to getting on the stage to preparing your talk. So that's a one-stop shop.
Yes.
Tomorrow night. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that with us. Lorraine, I just may pop into that myself.
Good.
You can never get too much education as far as I'm concerned. It's always good to brush up. Always good to
Yes.
brush up.
Yes.
Well, Lorraine, again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It has truly been an honor and a pleasure to have you here in the Bright Spot studio again. I look forward to seeing you again, if not tomorrow night, sometime in the fall. And I wish you the best of luck.
Have a great summer.
You as well, my dear.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Well, folks, that concludes another episode of Bright Spots with the Gratitude Evangelist and Laurie Labishak, your happiness ambassador. I hope you'll come back next week and join us for the Better Together with Friends group. We're excited to have all four of these wonderful ladies in the studio next week. It's going to be an incredible show. I hope that you will join us. God bless you. Have a great week. And remember, keep shining your light.